Monday, December 5th, 2022 in order, and have roll call.
All right, and today we are starting with Carol Moen. Fran Langman.
Yes.
Louis Oki.
Here.
Hattie Anderson. Here. Randy Cook.
Here.
Jerry McRoberts.
Here.
Marv Thompson.
Present.
Bun Hansen. Stacy Wenzel. Here. Dana Heller.
Here.
Bob Anderson.
Here.
Sam Buchanan.
Here.
Audrey Kuslik. Here. Bill Efforts.
Here.
Craig Turcott.
Here.
Dale Heineke.
Here.
Bob Rogers.
Here.
Diane Vaughn. Here. John Banks.
Here.
Terry Lee is absent. Carolyn Bartlett was running late. She's not here yet. Okay. And Pam Fall.
Here.
Bill Schradel.
Gotcha.
All right, no Bill. Gary Taxdell.
Here.
Jim Gores.
Present.
Gary Nelson.
Here.
Roberta Mosentine.
Here.
Pete Olson.
Here.
And Kathy Krug.
Here.
All right, that looks like we've got 26 present and 3 absent at this time.
Public notification.
Wendy Coleman, my executive assistant, has complied with Wisconsin open meeting law requirements. Meeting agendas have been posted on electronic meeting notice boards located on the first and second floor of the Government Center and the first floor of the Justice Center. Hard copy of the meeting agenda has been posted in the county clerk's office, and she has verified the proper posting of this meeting. This is the Barron County Board of Supervisors meeting scheduled for Monday, December 5th, and this agenda and packet was posted on the 1st, December 1st at 12:18 p.m.
Okay. Guess we'll have the invocation, and I'm the one, I guess, so. I guess we just ask God that we respect each other and handle each other's matters, even though we're always not thinking the same, but we try to do what's best for Barron County and the citizens that live here, so hopefully we all do that. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, item number 3, special matters. For those of you unaware, Terry Lee passed away on December 1st.
Oh, no.
And, yeah, I'd like to read it's a preliminary obituary. Read more about the life of Terry and share your memory. Terry O. Lee, age 78, passed away on December 1st, 2022 in Marshfield, Wisconsin. Terry was born to Oliver and Dalda Lee on May 5th, 1944 in Iowa. A full obituary will be posted soon. Please check back. A graveside service will be held on Tuesday, December 6th, 2022 at 2 p.m. at the Pleasant Plain Cemetery in Prairie Lake Township of Chetek, Wisconsin. The Burnham Hours Colstead Family Funeral Home was entrusted with the arrangements. To send flowers to the family or plant a tree in memory of Terry O. Lee, please visit our floral store. So I'd like to just have a moment of silence for Terry. Thank you, everyone. Terry was certainly a great supervisor and a good man, so it's too bad. Okay, item number 4, approve the agenda.
Can I do a couple special matters?
Oh, sure you can. Sorry, Jeff.
Bonnie Ritchie, would you please step up here? Where do you want to? Do what you're going to. It's been a pleasure to work with this lady for my 22 years. She was hired at age 15. She's retiring at her 42 years?
44 and 3/4.
44 and 3/4 years. This is her last county board meeting. So we have a very special commendation that I was given that I want to read for everybody and get it into the record of the county. So here's a resolution of commendation by the Wisconsin County Treasurers Association. Whereas the Wisconsin Counties Treasurers Association is a group organized for the purpose of educating county treasurers throughout the state of Wisconsin and also for the purpose of keeping county treasurers informed of current events that impact their offices, their counties, and their communities. And whereas the Wisconsin County Treasurers Association has a tradition of recognizing and commending those members who have served the association faithfully and well, and whereas Vonnie Ritchie, the duly elected county treasurer in and for the county of Barron, Wisconsin, has since 2002 represented her constituents, her county, and the state of Wisconsin with a high degree of professionalism and integrity. And whereas Vonnie Ritchie has been a contributing member and has served as secretary and on the site selection and the resolutions committees of the Wisconsin County Treasurers Association with diligence and a high degree of excellence. And whereas Vonnie has during her career as Barron County Treasurer exemplified the ideals of public service and by doing so has brought honor to the association and to Barron County. Now therefore be it resolved by the Wisconsin County Treasurers Association that in recognition of her exemplary public service, the resolution of commendation has been issued to Vonnie Ritchie of Barron County Treasurer. Be it further resolved that by the Wisconsin County Treasurers Association that a copy of this resolution shall be forwarded to the chairman of the board of the Barron County Board of Supervisors, passed and issued this 21st day of October 2022 by our friends and colleagues in the Wisconsin County Treasurers Association. Signed by Trent Wolf, the president, Carrie Eastlick, the vice president, Connie Johnson, the president-elect. Vonnie, it's been wonderful working with you, and if you have a few words, but I think we should stand and recognize. I'll put this back in the envelope so it doesn't get buggered up.
So, yeah, it's been a long time. April 3rd of 1978 was my first day here, and I was single and scared when I walked in. My first day, but, you know, I've worked with so many wonderful people, you know, so many people on county boards. I've met so many great people that work for the county board people, and the treasurers throughout the state of Wisconsin. It's been, you know, they say time flies when you're having fun. Well, here you go. It's been great. I've had wonderful staff. I've been this is my 20th, finishing my 20th year of being elected. So I had Linda Hoyer, Diane Bowen, and then Jody Bush was my first deputy. Carol Rocco took over after Jody Bush left. And I think it was 5 years maybe you were here with us. And then, you know, now I've got the young girls. Erica Sinclair has been great. And Sam will be wonderful too. You know, I know they have a little bit of learning to do, but they're young and smart and good with technology. And yeah, I just need to retire before I get too feeble. And I want to spend some time with my, more time with my family. And I finally got a granddaughter. She's 3 years old, and I'm hoping to spend more time with her before she goes to school. So anyway, thank you all for your support for over the last 20 years and prior. And yeah, I hope to see you again someday. I'm sure I will. You know, if I get really bored, I can always come to county board, right? Thank you.
Congratulations, Vonnie.
One more thing, very important. Really want to thank Judge Babler. Some of you may not be aware, but Eau Claire County and Barron County were the first two counties in the state to have drug court grants. Barron County has been through the process of the state budget. We have been locked in at $26,000 a year to fund our drug court, where other counties have gotten upwards of $150,000. And this was locked in by some arcane rule through the Attorney General's office. Judge Babler worked really hard, and we are now going to get $150,000 instead of $26,000 like the other counties, which I think speaks well to Judge Babler's relationship with the Attorney General and the Governor's office to get that really arcane little twist in the law ironed out by the Attorney General. So I just wanted the board to know and express my thanks to Judge Babler for not quitting, and he kept on it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's all I have.
Item number 4, approve the agenda. Motion by Supervisor Olson, seconded by Supervisor Hanson. Is there any concerns? Not. All those in favor of approving that agenda indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed by the same sign? That motion's carried. Item number 5, approve the minutes of November 7th, 2022. Motion by Supervisor Gores, seconded by Supervisor Heineke. Any concerns with the minutes? Not. All those in favor of approving those indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed by the same sign? That motion's carried. Item number 7, resolution, the Board of Commissioners of
6.
excuse me. The reason I skipped 6 is we don't have any public comment. Okay. Item number 7, resolution, the Board of Commissioners of Public Lands, a state trust fund loan for Barron County Waste to Energy Acid Gas Removal System. And we will need, I know the resolution in the packet says 2/3, but we do need a 3/4 vote for that passage. That'll be 22 supervisors. As Jeff pointed out in the memo, we have approved this, but there was a snafu in how they look at the application and timing, and so that's the reason we had this meeting primarily today. One of the main reasons is so we can get that accomplished, because if we don't get it in, I believe it's maybe the 18th or so, the interest rate skyrockets on us. So it's important that we get this taken care of. So you want to handle that?
I've talked to Chairman Oki. He's asked me to handle it. So what I'd like to do with the permission of the board is I'd like to step through this as we did in October, if that's okay with you. So Supervisor Cook, you made the original motion. Are you willing to make that motion again, sir? Supervisor Rogers, you made the second. Are you willing to second?
Yes, I am.
So that would be exactly how we did it on October 17th. So Jess, have you got that so far? Okay. Any discussion on that motion? Nothing's changed. It's just we would need to, now I'm going to do a roll call vote, and I'm going to do it in the same order in which the clerk typed this up and submitted it, so that if there's any changes, we can make them here and initial them. So, or can I call the roll?
Good.
Okay. Supervisor Rogers.
Yes.
Supervisor Vaughn.
Yes.
Supervisor Banks.
Yes.
Terry Lee is absent. Jess, I'll mark his as absent. Print that in. Supervisor Bartlett.
Yes.
Supervisor Fall.
Yes.
Supervisor Schradel is absent. Supervisor Taxdahl.
Yes.
Supervisor Gores.
Yes.
Supervisor Nelson.
Yes.
Supervisor Mosentine.
Yes.
Supervisor Olson.
Yes.
Supervisor Krug.
Yes.
Supervisor Moen.
Yes.
Supervisor Langman.
Yes.
Supervisor Oki.
Yes.
Supervisor Anderson.
Yes.
Supervisor Cook.
Yes.
Supervisor McRoberts. Supervisor Thompson.
Yes.
Supervisor Hanson.
Yes.
Supervisor Wenzel.
Yes.
Jess, I will print yes in place where Stacy was absent that day. Supervisor Heller.
Yes.
Okay, give me just a second. I've got to go to another page. Supervisor Robert Anderson.
Yes.
Supervisor Buchanan.
Yes.
Supervisor Kuslik.
Yes.
Supervisor Efforts.
Yes.
Supervisor Turcott.
Yes.
Supervisor Heineke.
Yes.
All right, so we have 27 yes, 2 absent. It passes.
Therefore, that resolution passes.
Thank you very much, actually.
Okay, item number 8. Again, this one I'll take a 2/3 roll call, which is 20 supervisors. And this is a resolution authorizing the 1 full-time sheriff's school resource officer / utility position at the Chetek School District. Jeff put out good information in his memo. As we Discussed last time that we weren't going to pass this position unless it was fully funded, but which is 90% of that position by the school district. And they did come back and authorize that, and our sheriff's going to explain what happened.
It's actually 75% funded by the school district, but that's the 90,000, and that's where you got the 90.
90,000, that's right.
90,000, 75%. This is for a full-time position in the Schteck School District. The summer hours, June, July, and August will be utility hours. We'll use them. It'll actually create a four-man rotation for us. It's a long story, but we'll have more rec hours, hopefully reduce some overtime, increase patrol. So that's the summer plan for this position. So we came to you, obviously we took it off the table because there was a township that wanted in that didn't, and Schteck School at that time only wanted a half-time. You've got a letter from Superintendent Johnson saying they're fully behind this for a minimum of 3 years. We've got the 3-year contract, went through Laserfish. It's all been approved by law enforcement and everybody else. So I can take questions. This is the last school in Barron County that doesn't have a school resource officer. This will put 5 of the 7 schools under the direction of the Sheriff's Department for safety and security.
Are there any questions? Supervisor Buchanan,
I would make the motion to approve.
Second.
seconded by Supervisor Banks. Any further discussion on this resolution?
When I was reading over it, just educate me in helping when it said reduce overtime costs during non-school months. What does that mean?
That's the summer. So there'll be a patrol person in the summer. So they'll actually put a uniform on, drive a patrol car and handle shifts so we can use them to fill overtime. So there'll be an extra police officer or extra deputy for us. And when we have that 5th deputy on, we're going to use that to put more rec hours in, which then we get funded for that from the DNR.
Okay, and then would you explain maximizing the available revenue recreation? Revenue.
That is, if we put that person into patrol, if we have them patrol lakes or the trails, we get funding, a partial funding for that person back in the summer
Okay,
from the DNR.
Who does that come from?
The DNR. The DNR
okay.
funds. Some of those programs are funded at 100, some are funded at 70%, depending on what they're doing, recreational or ATV, boat, or snowmobile. Obviously, they won't be doing snowmobile in the summer, but
Okay, and then just one little example of what a breach of the contract might be.
if either of us want it out for some reason.
Just,
Yeah, we have an out clause that's standard in all of our contracts that Mr. Minch puts in there.
okay, thank you.
Supervisor Vaughn?
So we said this is funded at 75%. In the resolution, it says that it is budget neutral. So is that 25% coming from the DNR then?
No, it's 25% is coming from my budget. We're going to use grant money. We're going to use whatever money we need to. The position, how Jody and I figured it out, is $120,000. That includes the squad car, the gun, the computer, the radio, everything. They're paying 90% of that 120. We're funding the rest.
75%. You're listening to me.
Yeah, I know. Sorry.
Supervisor Rogers?
I spent a fair amount of time this morning speaking with Dr. Mark Johnson. He's the superintendent down in Schteck, and I am a resident of that particular school district. And the school district feels very strongly about this. That's why they are willing to go in without the partner that had been anticipated before. I don't want anybody to think that necessarily Schteck is the crime site of all of Barron County, but he assures me that they do have enough to keep that officer more than engaged down in the school district down there in Schteck Weyerhaeuser. He is looking at this as an opportunity, really as a safety opportunity, to get out into the community, to get with the students, to get with the parents, to ensure that they know exactly all of the hazards and the solutions to those hazards that can be out there. Not only that, but the school district is insisting that this officer also be certified by the DPI to be a substitute teacher down there. They're thinking about that.
Yeah.
So I fully support this. I think it's a terrific idea.
That's a unique situation in that this was the first one that I can find will actually be a certified substitute teacher. And I signed off on that because I think it's I was a school cop years ago in Rice Lake, and the hardest thing was to getting in the classrooms but this is going to get them in the classrooms. And I think it's a really unique opportunity for us. That's going to go really far. And other people are going to look at this plan and say, we're going to do that with our school liaison. So I'm impressed with Shatek's forward thinking on that, and I signed off on that, and we're going to certify that person in January. This position starts January 1st.
Any further questions?
I have one.
Supervisor Efforts?
So this position, there's going to be a new hire for this position. So
Yes.
if they discontinue the contract in 3 or 5 years, what happens to that?
We'll either fill it through attrition, hopefully. We'd have an attrition, or we wouldn't fill a retiree or something like that, or we'd get rid of the position. That's, as all of our grants have always said, Jeff and I have, and Stacy says the same thing. If a grant goes away, the position goes away, and we'll backfill it if we need to.
Okay.
Supervisor Guslick?
So are there any other schools that are outside the county limits? Weyerhaeuser or Chautauqua School District, or are they all in Barron County, their schools?
All of their schools are all in Barron County, yes.
They are.
Chautauqua Weyerhaeuser is just one school in Chautauqua. That was so they don't have any schools in Weyerhaeuser. Good question.
Any other questions? Supervisor Taxtell?
This is a minor thing, but as a substitute teacher, you usually get paid. And so is that a wash because they're paying for the position
Correct.
already?
That will be a wash. That's a way that they thought that they could recoup some of the costs, and I said that was fine with me. It's going to be on an emergency basis. We don't think they're going to sub. Well, we actually set it at no more than 1 day a week, but they don't think it's going to be used for even that much. But like if a coach needs to go at 2 o'clock, they're going to fill in for the last hour. It's going to really get the kids. We're going to have some pre-set programs that they can teach in the class: drugs, alcohol, sexting, scams, phone usage, things like that. So we're going to have some pre-approved programs that if they get an hour in the classroom, where they're going to be able to do that.
Supervisor Banks?
I want to put a plug in for the Stack Weyerhaeuser School District, because now they employ a full-time social worker plus a clinical mental health employee to deal with some of these issues that are popping up on the mental health side with the going through COVID and the isolation issue. So if other school districts are thinking about going that direction, it might be wise to converse with the superintendent. Thank you.
Any further questions or concerns? If not, we'll take a roll call vote. A yes means you approve the position.
You're up.
Yes.
All right. Patty Anderson.
Yes.
Randy Cook.
Yes.
Jerry McRoberts. Marv Thompson. Bun Hansen.
Yes.
Stacy Wenzel.
Yes.
Dana Heller.
Yes.
Bob Anderson.
Yes.
Stan Buchanan.
Yes.
Audrey Kuslik.
Yes.
Bill Efforts.
Yes.
Craig Turcott.
Yes.
Dale Heinecke.
Yes.
Bob Rogers.
Yes.
Diane Vaughn.
Yes.
John Banks.
Yes.
Terry Lee will put as absent. Carolyn Bartlett.
Yes.
Pam Fall.
Yes.
Bill Schradel is still absent. Gary Taxtell.
Yes.
Jim Gores.
Yes.
Gary Nelson.
Yes.
Roberta Mosentine. Pete Olson.
Yes.
Kathy Krug.
Yes.
Carol Moen. And Fran Langman.
Yes.
All right, that's 27 yes and 2 absent.
Yeah, resolution passes. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Just one other note, tonight is Shop with the Cops. If you come to Walmart or Farmer Fleet at 5, you'll see a lot of cops. So greatest night for law enforcement is tonight at 5 p.m. So if you want to see something cool, stop by.
Thanks, Chris. Item number 9, resolution motorized trail authorization for the years 2023, 2024. It's a yearly resolution and it's required by the DNR. Could I get a motion by Supervisor Bob Anderson, second by Supervisor Mosentine? Any questions or concerns regarding that resolution? Supervisor Turcott?
I've sitting in on some committee meetings. Are they still on track? I'm assuming this is ATV and stuff, for the county roads in May.
Yes.
I had that come up at one of my lake
L-
meetings.
Lori in the highway department is really working hard on this, and she's got some really good ideas. She's actually been talking with state people and getting signage that I think will save us some money and be consistent with the counties around us, so. Any further questions? Not, all those in favor of passing that resolution indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Okay, that resolution carries. Item number 10, the progress update on the highway facilities. And Chad, are you from CBS Squared? I guess will be giving that to us. Thanks, Chad.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
I'll give you a quick update on where we're sitting currently on the highway project. Starting on the west side of the project, we're currently going to move out of what we call UH1. It's the unheated building across will become the ARDC building. We'll be pulling the miscellaneous materials that we have stored in there out. We have a plumbing vent that's going to get finalized and flashed in on the roof in the next week. There's also a louver that needs a final wiring. That'll be done here in the next couple days. The overhead door will be tested and programmed on the week of the 19th. And also on the week of the 19th, we'll be doing our final cleaning and wipe down of that building and get it ready for turnover to the county. Wash building, the week of the 19th, we are installing the card reader. We found a card reader that works with your existing fuel card system. There's a mechanical punch list out there. The mechanical contractor is going to complete that on the week of the 12th. He figured about a week's worth of time on that to finish that up and finalize all the programming on that. And we will do a final cleaning on that portion the week of the 19th also. Coming over the main facility.
Chad, would you say then that by the week of the 19th, or at least by the end of December, everything on the west side will be completed?
You're correct. Yep. And that'll be turned over for the county's use. Moving over to the east side of the site. The existing building, they're under demo right now. Mavo Systems is removing the asbestos from the old mechanic shop area. They will be done by Friday, and Erickson Excavating will show up next week and begin demo of that portion of the building. So it's going to start changing again. You know, it'll be actual noticeable changes here in the next couple weeks on that side. I met with the cleaning services this morning. They are final cleaning what we call Area A, or the admin area, getting that ready to move into here in the next week for as soon as the fixtures and the furniture show up. The parts room was completed last week as far as the shelving. The county employees are moving into that this week. They actually started this morning on that. The large mechanic area, what we call Area B, the mechanics have been working out of there permanently now for the last 2 weeks, a little over 2 weeks. So they're getting accustomed to all the new stuff and how to go about working in that new environment. Area C, which we call the heated C&D, which is the heated warehouse that's attached to the mechanic space. The painters are currently prepping to paint half of the building. They're going to start this week. HVAC and plumbing and mechanical are finishing up the other half, so we can flip them in the next 2 weeks. Once the painting's done on the what we call the north side of that area, we'll flip them to the south side, and the plumbing, mechanical, electrical contractors will go to the north side of that area that's been painted. Salt shed is currently being plumbed for the salt brine mixing machine, which is by Veritech. Veritech will be on site the week after Christmas, the 26th, to install the brine system, and that includes all the storage tanks. The roofing install, the asphalt shingles are getting installed on the 12th through the 16th. Excuse me. And then unheated 2, the large unheated warehouse on the west side or east side of the building. The pre-engineering building will be erected the week of 1/2/23, and it takes approximately 60 days with the winter weather conditions. Once we get to that point where we can actually work inside of there, the plumbing electricians and mechanical contractors will begin what we call the underground. It'll be the trench drains in the floor, any underground conduits, and then once they get that portion done, we'll turn it over to VNS to begin the pours, and we're hoping by the first week of April to have the first pours to start.
Chad, what about the existing admin office building? When will that be looked at?
Existing admin office, once we get Mark and his admin group out into the new building here in the next 2 weeks, we're gonna do what they call destructive testing for asbestos in that building. We didn't want to start that with the employees in there right now. So once we get them moved out, and get all the materials salvaged out of that we're gonna salvage, we'll start the destructive testing in the next 2 weeks.
Is there any issues there that with the removal of the stone, name stone from the old building?
Jim's referring to the existing Barron County logo, that's limestone, that's across the header of the existing mechanic shop. We are gonna salvage that, and Erickson has that figured out how they're gonna lower that down without damaging it. That'll be placed in the front of the new building in the parking lot for visibility. That was mitigation requirement by SHPO.
There'll be a time capsule and some other things also that'll be associated with those requirements.
Correct.
I had one question.
Go ahead.
Under audio architects, the wiring wasn't not included in the first bid. Why were they now including the wiring?
Let's see. Is that the one for the 125,000?
First it was 82,259.42 cents. It's on page 21.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, that we have in the items to finish, there's $125,000 allocated to that. We approved at our last meeting 82,000 plus for audio architects to complete their job, but there's more things that have to be done besides just audio architects, but we anticipate being fully inside the $125,000 budget.
Okay. So it wasn't included in the first go-around?
It looks, well, it was, I can't look back at the older ones, but the November 30th sheet is under items to finish
Okay.
in there. And the thing is, it was in your packet.
Right, and
Yep.
that's where I picked it up from. It
Yep.
said it was not included, and I wondered, why would you not include wiring? Because that would make it work, right?
Yes.
Okay.
There were some issues that, things that, discussions about what was included, what wasn't, and that's how this spreadsheet became developed. So we hopefully have all the items included in it.
And my question is, now I know that we should be going to these committee meetings so that we are informed before we get here.
You're certainly welcome. Yeah.
I see the need for that.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. And by the way, just so I don't forget it, the December 12th Highway Finance Committee meeting, it was scheduled for 9 o'clock, will now be on the 14th at 1:30 p.m. So it's going from Monday at 9 a.m. next week till Wednesday at 1:30. That's the finance one, not the highway progress or the highway department. So, and we have had some individuals at those meetings. Yes, we're trying to include all the stuff we can, and as far as, well, we'll be talking about the finance here in a little bit, but
And can I ask one more
Sure.
question? Am I allowed? Okay.
Yep.
On concrete blankets, are they reusable?
yes, I think that charge was for a rental, wasn't it, Chad?
Correct, that is a rental charge.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions for Chad? Supervisor Gulick?
So is someone going to go through the spreadsheet for us? so we
Yes, that'll be
understand?
item number 12.
Thank you.
Any further questions for Chad or anything? Not? Thank you, Chad. Keep it going.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay, item number 11, legal counsel opinion on a potential litigation.
Good morning. I've been requested to provide you an update on potential litigation as it relates to the highway project. What I can tell you is that the approach and the process has not changed from which was outlined over the last few months when we became aware of this issue. That is, our primary focus at this time is to complete this project. That's not to say that we're not going to do anything. All options are on the table and we are exploring them as we go along. But right now, the focus is on completing this project. Over the past few months, we've heard the comments and the opinions, whether it was through public comment, through county board, through the press. You understand the frustration, the concerns, and we're aware that people want to know how this happened and to hold those at fault accountable. While we've not ruled out anything, it's unlikely at this time that we'd spend the time, energy, or money doing a forensic audit. This is not a case of missing money. This is not a case of someone embezzling millions of dollars. We know all too well where those dollars have gone. This is a case of unforeseen issues which balloon the cost. This is a case of necessary items not being included in the overall budget or a lack of communication regarding the ultimate responsibility for where those costs fit into the project. This is a case of where the contingency line item probably wasn't nearly big enough. Supervisor Taxtall said it best a couple of meetings back to the effect that had we known the items were not included in the original estimate, we very likely probably would have included them and approved that budget. Now that doesn't make it, that's not to say that that's okay and then we just let it go. We continue to explore these options. The question has been asked is how would legal process proceed if it's necessary, if it's needed? Disputes under this contract must first go through mediation. We've not yet filed for mediation. If the mediation does not resolve the dispute, then it goes to binding arbitration. This isn't a case, this is not a situation where we're going to file a lawsuit. This is something that's going to go to arbitration for the final dispute resolution. So as we move forward, the issues will be, should those unforeseen costs have been foreseeable? And if so, who missed it? Who's responsible? Should those items not in the overall budget have been included earlier? And if so, who missed that? And proving that someone is at fault and proving that you were damaged are two different issues. But as I said earlier, nothing is off the table right now. Our focus is on completing this project. The facts of who is at fault and who should be responsible for those damages, those items aren't going to change. They're not going to change. Those facts are going to be the facts, and we'll proceed and continue to look at that, but we're going to continue to get this project done. And I think that was a good report from Chad with things getting wrapped up, and there's end in sight, seeing things getting done. So that's the focus. There's not a whole lot more than that I can tell you, but if Louis wants to jump in, he certainly can.
Well, I don't know, he said a mouthful there, so I don't know if there's much more can be done at this time, but does anyone have a question? Supervisor Rogers.
John, are there timeframes that have to be addressed when it comes to initiating mediation?
The only timeframes in the contract would be that before you can institute the binding resolution or the arbitration, you have to either first file for mediation or you can do it concurrently. And then ultimately, the outside limit would be whatever the statute of limitations is on this type of action applies to filing for arbitration. So yeah, there is an outside limit that you have to file it or you can't file it.
Supervisor Taxtall.
I doubt this, but were the meetings recorded? And I'm a real advocate of Zooming everything.
Okay, that's a little different subject. All right.
But were the meetings recorded? Or just the minutes?
Just the minutes. You mean of our highway facilities, highway progress, all that,
Correct.
just the minutes? Yep. And just the county board is the only one we have recorded. And that, I believe is that an item on the executive agenda for Wednesday? So, and that's coming out today? Okay. Any other questions or comments? Not? Well, stay tuned. Thank you. Item number 12, Highway Facilities Project Cost Update. Jody.
We're going to take a look at We're going to take a look at a few different financial documents relating to the highway facility. So the first thing we're going to look at is just basically cash flow for November. And so in November, this is also in your packet on page 18. Otherwise, you can look at the screens. Total expenditures for November, we paid out $708,830. Interest earned for the month on the bond was $5,793. And so at the end of November, we're looking at the bonds still on hand of $1,712,712. $1,851,712. So you can see that so far we have spent just a little over $23 million of the bond. Is there any questions on that?
Jody, when do we start paying interest on the bond?
We have made our first bond payment in 2022. Part of it because we had a premium on the bond. We got such a good interest rate when we did that we actually had like about $940,000 extra that we were able to hold and then pay that out in interest payments. And then we did make our first principal payment. I think it was due November 1st.
So the interest that you're talking about here, interest earned, is on the portion that we have not expended.
Right. This is just, you know, the money that we've been holding. Yeah, each month we are accruing interest. We have been all along. I think so far we've accrued on just the investment portion, about $72,000.
Okay, so we only start paying interest once we use it? Or are we paying interest? I mean, is there an offsetting amount to this $5,793?
No. The only thing that we're paying, there's a cap of $40,000 to pay to Ellers to manage the investments. And we're closing in on that. I think we've paid about $38,000 of that.
You're talking about two different things. There's two different things here, Randy. This is the money that's ours from the borrowing that we're using to pay for the project. What you're speaking of is the money that we borrowed that we have to pay back. That's in a debt service fund. So as Jody said, we sold it at a premium. So the premium goes to two things. It goes to pay the interest first, and then the schedule is already established when we issued the bonds. So beginning when the bonds were issued, we pay principal and interest in June and November, July and November, whatever it is. That's a whole separate deal. That's the debt service levy that covers those payments. This is money that we have earned on the money that has been invested.
And that money that's being invested, the final amount will mature on December 20th of this year, so there won't be any more investment interest.
Once it gets to $900,000, all the investments go away and it goes into a money market fund, and then we pay the final $900,000 out of a money market fund. Also, it's important to realize, I've got this question, I know two board chairs are not be happy about this, but you can't arbitrage this. The arbitrage rules have really tightened up in the last couple of years. We can't borrow this money and then invest it for more than the interest that we're paying on it. When we were paying 1.55%, we got to manage that money. You can earn some above, but you can't arbitrage. So that's why we can't sit on the money and hold it.
So can you explain the $900,000 that was pulled back from the, what does that mean?
Okay, so we have a money market that as they invest this money, we have some that's liquid. And then each month we schedule, roughly a few months down the road of how much we think we're going to need each month. And so then they've had the rest of it invested so we can get a higher rate of return. And so right now we currently, of this $1,800,000, we have about $944,000 is sitting in a money market account right now, and that's what's going to be paying out bills that are going to get approved later this week. The other $900,000, that's going to mature later this month, and then because we're just kind of winding down on all of this, that's going to be the last of the investment.
That's a great question. Let's explore the details, Audrey. When we got this money, Jody and I, and with Bob Swirsky's help, we sat down and set up a preliminary cash flow analysis. So for example, they went out and bought 2.5% and 3.5% school district bonds from a large school district down in Florida. And so they invested that money at 2.5% or 3.5%. Like the last month, we got 3% was our rate of return on the last little bit of money. So that's where Jody's talking about. Some of these were investments that they bought and held, but they can't cash them in. So they were scheduling the maturity to meet the $900,000 liquidity. Does that make, thank you, good. I love it when people nod. Okay, got it, thank you.
Any other questions on this one? Okay, then we'll move on to page 19 of the packet. Now, this is the most updated spreadsheet that we have received from CBS Squared. The only two things that have changed, well, there's three things actually, that have changed from the last draft was these ones that are in yellow right here. And what those are, the first one is, let's see, brine room plumbing for about just under $75,000. The other thing is shingles for the lean-to, where that is the lean-to that's on the side of the salt shed that houses all of the brining equipment. And so that was added in. There was also a credit of $76,000 that needed to be removed because that was initially put in if we wouldn't have put concrete in UH2, but we are going along with the regular plans. So that was just an adjustment there. So going down, their estimate as far as overage of the project is still under that 4.6 million. They're looking at 4,528,000. Is there any questions on this?
Can I make some comments, Mr.
Sure.
Okay, when the Highway Finance Committee met, back to Supervisor Anderson's question on the 125,000, Lance met with us, and we ordered some of this stuff now because they're looking at a 20% increase. So the 82,000 that was approved by that, which was in the minutes and in the packet, that keeps us under the 125,000. And we even put a little contingency of 18,000 in case something. So we got $25,000 there that we're under. When it comes to any more problems we met with as far as on-site, because we keep running into old railroad spurs and all kinds of things. We talked to Bob, actually Chairman Oki asked Bob Swirsky specifically if he thought we were going to hit anything more. Bob's comment was he doesn't think so because of the way the building seems to be put in. They knew in 46 what they were going to hit. So the existing building, we're hoping, doesn't have anything underneath it, or we don't run into anything more because we just didn't know that. So that was just two comments that I had that we've been, and when you look at this spreadsheet, there's an item in here for 200 and,
Which column are you talking about?
I'm talking about items to finish. There's an item in here for the shop brake, the shop equipment, drill press, shear, gear and lube.
The 241,050.
We are not spending any of that money at all. We talked about this one of the very first meetings. We're not going to spend any of that money till we see where we're at with the project. Also, the 170. There's a amount over here where actually Erickson Excavating cut their price back by 70 or 80,000. So the 25,000 plus the 70 or 80 plus the 241, we've got some money here that we're not going to spend and we're going to sit on.
But to Supervisor Patty Anderson's question before, when you look at the change orders, the ones in yellow, the 74,000 and the 32,000, why wasn't that included in the original estimate? Those are things, you got to shingle it, you got to have it. Why wasn't it there? But that's the contractor that provided it didn't have that in there, and it was not caught. So those are change orders, which in my mind weren't necessary to be a change order, but that's the way it is. And like Jody and Jeff just pointed out, we're at 4,528,000. That's where we're projected. We've got 4.6 to deal with, so we're right on the cusp here. So I've asked CBS Squared, are we going to be okay? And Right now, I'm getting the answer yes. And Jody's got the contracts from CBS Squared. She's reconciling them to show what's left on that. And that's at one of our, I think the January meetings when we're actually going to nail all that down. But Supervisor Taxtell.
Well, the shop equipment, we did approve in that 4.6 million to buy that stuff. Now we're not buying it. Can you tell me why? Was that for machining parts, or what was, are we gonna have, pay outside sources to machine parts, or what's?
Well, we might, we will save money, but again, this is extremely tight budget, Gary, and we're just trying to make sure we get everything in there. I mean, there's some other little things here that we're saving money on, like we allocated 19,000 for the appliances. Well, that came in about half of that. You know, those are little things that we're just trying to sit on every day and not spend the money.
He's not saying we won't ultimately do it. He's just saving the money until we know where we're at for sure ultimately.
I believe Supervisor Olson left, but Supervisor Olson was chair of that, the site committee. He and I worked on a Friday, and the plumbing, we cut the plumbing by about $12,000 too out to the brine room. That was not in the original bid specs, nor was the shingles. We questioned why, and we met with the city of Barron, we met with CBS Squared, we met with Mark, and there's some things that were in that plumbing that we cut back as well. We didn't need the size, we didn't need the length. We changed some things to Plex instead of copper to save money.
I'm just saying that it's $250,000 in equipment, and now we're not getting it.
Well, hopefully we will be. It's just timing, I think, is what
Okay,
Jeff's
so
talking
you might
about.
put it back in.
Correct, but
Yes.
we're not,
Oh, yes.
talking to Mark Servey, we're not gonna put it back in till we know
It's timing though.
it's timing, right?
I have a question.
Supervisor Patty Anderson.
Shop equipment, is anything from the old building usable in the new building?
Some, yes. Don't pin me down.
When we
I
were
don't
out there,
remember those right off the top
I
of
can
my head.
answer that. When we were
Okay.
out there and toured, we've moved over the pressure washer. They've moved over other things. They've moved over everything that they can take out of the existing office. They're taking it over and putting up in the map room and the planning room. The things that are in the old, they are going to take out everything that they can. They're taking all the tools over there. If you walk through there today, you'd see a lot of stuff. They're just putting it in there, and then they're going to replumb it as time goes on. And like the hose reels that were missed, we're moving those around at no cost. They're probably, you're talking to what, Mark thought maybe a $20,000 credit on that. So those are all the things that we're trying to cut back.
And CBS Squared has been taking ownership of some of these items and sharing in the cost, or just outright taking care of it and paying for it. So there's some give and take in all this stuff.
I think it's important to point out, we're also selling the tracks that were supposed to go into UH2. We're gonna sell those, and I think Mac thinks he can build them himself, I think, for a lot less than we can buy them.
Supervisor Cook.
Yes, you transition to CBS Squared. I see we made additional payments last month to CBS Squared. I do not see on the sheet any additional payments to CBS Squared. Is that, am I to assume then there are no additional payments?
There's a formula as they submit. There will be, when you go to the next sheet we've got here, we're on page 19, page 20, there's 603,000 on the next one. And there's some CBS Squared numbers that we'll have. Do we know those yet, Jody?
I believe that Friday we got a $32,000 invoice that's not included in here. I'm also waiting for another engineering invoice that usually they're probably around like $2,000 to $4,000.
But they're in that, on that sheet, that little box at the bottom that can, you know, the 1.1 million or 1.2 million and 894, those are costs that are part of the original contract that are being recouped over time.
Okay.
And yeah, we just haven't received the November ones yet, or we hadn't received them when the packet went out, but we're hoping to get that finalized today.
Right, so when Jeff was just talking about where we're at in the budget, those numbers for CBS Squared are not yet included in that.
They are included.
They are included in that.
Yeah, the invoices that we get, they are part of the construction cost or let's see, the design cost to date and CM cost to date. That's included in those amounts that are listed
The future
here.
costs are included in those amounts, on the stuff that's not done yet.
This, But
No,
this,
no, yes, it
this
is.
is the contracted amount.
Okay.
So,
And
I
all
mean,
of it
we're-
hasn't been paid yet. When
Right.
it shows it down here, that 894 and the 1,183,000, all that money has not been paid out yet.
Okay, thank you.
Supervisor Turcott.
Just going back to that 82,000 where it wasn't included, was it spec'd out and not, are these kind of some of the errors and omissions that we can,
If you look on that items to finish there, down in the big cluster that's got 125,000, that 82,000 is coming out of that 125.
very good, thank you.
Any further questions on the spreadsheet? Maybe you want to go on to the next one, Jody?
yep, so then this one, these are the invoices at the last meeting on the 30th that were approved to be paid this coming week. And so in December, we've got the 603,000. We are still waiting for the CBS squared invoices that we will be adding on to this. There might be, like, if any other invoices trickle in, we'll get those approved next week and we'll get those paid this month too.
But those 603 is included in the spreadsheet.
Correct. Yep.
Any further questions? Okay, we're going to continue to meet on this and hopefully get this, we'll talk, we're meeting in December and January yet on this. Okay, item number 13, the American Rescue Plan expenditures. Jody included that with the packet. I'm surprised we got money left, but that's good. So, and I know they've been, a lot of the committees are looking at that aging kitchen, and I think they're doing an engineering study right now for that. Any questions on the ARPA funds? Okay, item number 14, report from our county administrator.
Okay, we're going to take a look at the audit for 2021. You can find that, it's found on page 26 of your packet. And this is the executive audit summary. The full documents are posted on the county website, and if you would like a hard copy or if you would like me to email the full document to you, let me know and I will send it off to you. So basically, the driver of the audit is always the audit opinion, and the audit opinion, it affects grant, or it affects your grant eligibility, it affects bond rating, and we continue to get the highest audit opinion, which is an unmodified audit opinion as per generally accepted accounting principles. And so that is what's driving this audit. Going through, the next section is internal controls. This is our checks and balances. This is seeing if we have, more than one set of eyes on things. And the significant deficiency of limited segregation of duties, this is something that we get every year. And most counties, especially smaller counties, get this because we don't have the manpower in all of these smaller departments to make sure that there is always two sets of eyes on everything. And so to just kind of ease that burden, what we do, the auditors do additional testing in smaller counties. The finance department, we handle some things in the finance department for the departments. We assist them in different ways. And so this is something that while it is a disclosure that is important enough to be disclosed, it doesn't rise to the level of affecting our bond rating. The second one is this year we did have a material weakness, which was a material audit adjustments. There's lots of counties that they have this every year, and they'll might have 30 entries that fall under this category. This year we had one. And that, it comes up for us when there are new implementations of new guidance, or if there is special projects going on that require special accounting. And so this was with the highway facility. We needed to book the retainage that we haven't yet paid out. We need to book that in the proper year. And that was something that the auditors assisted me with on getting that all closed out. And so because they helped with that, they had to put this in there. Compliance. We were found to be in compliance with the laws, regulations, contracts, and grants, and all of their rules. Other items as part of the audit, the auditors helped us with, filing different forms with the feds and with the state. On the next page is formal required communications, and this is basically the responsibilities are listed of the auditors of what they do. So this is kind of their normal verbiage. I just invite you to read through that. We will go through as far as audit findings, accounting policies. We didn't implement any new accounting policies, and they also noted that no transactions that were entered, there was a lack of authoritative guidance or consensus. Everything was found to have been recognized in the proper period. Accounting estimates, they had some verbiage here. So with the audit, there's lots of different things that we have to estimate. We estimate depreciation, we estimate pensions, several different things. And so with that, they found all of our estimates to be reasonable. They didn't have any concerns there. Financial statement disclosures, they found our disclosures that they were neutral, consistent, and clear. They didn't find any difficulties in dealing with management or completing the audit. Uncorrected misstatements, they did not find anything that was not uncorrected. And as far as corrected misstatements, they did make note of that retainage payable that I mentioned previously for the material audit adjustment. Disagreements with management, they didn't find anything like that. Going on to page 29, we could, if we weren't getting along, let's say with the auditors, we could get a second opinion. We did not get a second opinion, and they made note of that. We work really well with them, and we really rely on them for a lot of things. They do a wonderful job and help us make sure that we are following all of the rules. Again, the significant issues, they have disclosed those. And then they also just made mention of required supplementary information, and then the schedule of expenditures and federal awards. Those are our grants, and just referred those. We have, those are all part of the main audit. And again, if you'd like a copy of that, I can send it to you. And so then, if you'd like to go to, let's see, page 31, Appendix B, this is just basically new accounting and reporting standards that are going to be coming down the pike that we will be working with the auditors to get those all implemented. And there's always, things are changing all the time. So it's kind of a constant thing. Going on to Appendix C, we will take a look at some of the numbers as of 12/31. So the first page is the general fund. There's really nothing of any concern here. Our financials are very strong. I did highlight cash and investments. You can see that rose quite a bit from 2020, and then also the unassigned fund balance is also increased. And the reason for that, that's our first ARPA payment. That is reported in the general fund. Otherwise, everything else is, pretty consistent. We have different things, kind of going up and down. But you can also see the unassigned fund balance came in at the 41.8% or the 9.8 million that we discussed in the budget. And so that's where that number comes from. Going down, The next is the group of special revenue funds and their fund balances. And so you can see county sales tax, that continues to grow. This is the amount that we will divide by 3 for the budget, and we'll take a third of that for the 2024 budget and put that, or apply that to that. Otherwise, you can kind of see, now the clerk of court fees, that is showing a deficit, and that's because that's something new that we have to report, but those amounts, they cross years because we have things in January for December, and so that's why it's showing a negative, but there really isn't, there's no problem with those, but it's just because it's crossing years that it looks kind of strange. Debt service funds. This $940,000, this was what we talked about before. We were holding that money. That's that bond premium that was paid out this year. And so now we're just down to about $13,000 in fund balance for debt service. Going on to capital projects, you can see the end of the year balances for our capital projects as of 2021. Enterprise funds, waste energy. Waste energy had a really good year. And you can see that they had an operating income of about $817,000. You can see the increases in their net position. This is their fund balances. Not so much in their unrestricted fund balances, but pension, that fund balance increased, but mostly it was in capital assets, and that was because of the stack that was completed in 2021. And then highway. Highway also had a really good year last year. And so they had a change in net position of about 1.7 million. And you can see where the unrestricted is right here, this 12.7 million. This is where that 4.6 million for the highway facility will come out of. And so you can see though that overall their financials are very strong. Health insurance fund, we had put another $510,000 in that fund in savings in 2021. So that fund also had a good year. Going on to page 37, long-term obligations. You can see how things have fluctuated through the years. For 2021, ending up with about $29.5 million in debt. And we have paid off everything except the highway shop now in 2022. So that will look different for next year. Otherwise, so is there any questions with any of this? Gary?
Well, I'd like to congratulate you on a great audit. And one thing that we have a great advantage is that if we ever needed a second opinion, Administrator French in his previous life used to audit counties. So if we needed a second opinion on the audit, we just asked Jeff.
If you do that, the bond people won't like that. Yep, go ahead.
Are you done?
Supervisor Banks.
We have property that has value. Now, do we keep track of all the trails, all the buildings, everything? Does any idea what it is? I mean, what's our value of all this stuff we call county?
That is in the main budget document.
But that's on a cost basis, not on a fair market.
You're right, it's 181 million. 181, 831 something. I'm off of a couple $1 million. So we have 181 million book value of all the things you just described, plus roads and bridges. 85% of all of our fixed assets are in the highway department, roads, bridges, and culverts. It's only 15% as any place else. So it's a pretty small amount.
And that is all listed in the main document of the audit. So you can check online or let me know.
Okay. Any further questions for Jody? Not, we'll go on to Jeff.
Okay, item 14B, you have the treasurer's report required by statute. That's in there. Thank you, Vonnie. No questions on that. As the property committee is aware, we had problems with the hot water and cool water lines at the campus. Somebody, when they put in the new lighting, drove a rather large metal pipe through our water right next to our hot water cooling, and it took this many years for it to corrode. Our maintenance guys have this fixed. It's temporarily fixed. We'll fix it permanently in the spring, and then they're going to do an analysis, essentially a tapping through the pipe to see if they broke any more pipes, because we don't want this to fail. So more to come on that. We'll cover those costs in 2023. Item 14D, I put the WCA legislative agenda in there just as information. Our county committees, when they're regularly scheduled, are on the website now, and so that's under, when we meet and under the agendas, it's there. And as we put a disclaimer, things can change. Gary?
Yeah, WCA is always asking for the levy limit to be changed from net new construction or 3%, minimum 3%. Is that getting any traction with inflation and all that? Because
no,
it needs.
I would disagree. I think it's getting a little traction. Right now the politicians, we got this money, we're going to help you. Of course, now they're elected. Now we'll see if they're going to. But I'm on the WCA board, and believe me, they're pushing really hard because they're sitting on $10 billion, and it's even higher. It continues to go up because they're getting more revenue collections than they figured. So they've got to do something with this money. They can't keep telling us to do stuff and not paying us for it. So they're very aware of this, and so are our politicians. So is our own Assemblyman Armstrong. So,
Thank you.
Continuing on, I put the latest schematic design for the aging kitchen in the packet. It still is quite encouraging to be here rather than up at Ann Street. So this is where we're going. The aging committee walked around and looked at this, it's pretty positive from their standpoint. So we're continuing to work on this. Hopefully May of 2023 or June, we'd have something to make a decision on. Acid gas removal system contract's going to be signed here very shortly, and we'll start on that with reviewed, I believe it's August and October, that's going to start going in. So that's on time and on budget as well. So that's what I have for updates. All my appointments are pretty standard, and I just ask that the county board appoint those as one. Any questions for me?
Can I get a motion to approve those 3 appointments that are listed as item number 15? Motion by Supervisor Cook, second by Supervisor Heller. Any questions or concerns on those? Not, all those in favor of approving those 3 appointments indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed by the same sign. The motion's carried. Number 16, claims, petitions, correspondence. That's always good. 17, suggestions for future agenda items. I think Supervisor Efforts.
Was January, we're supposed to talk about the updated rules for attending county board meetings?
Yeah.
So
It's actually going to executive on Wednesday too.
Okay.
So, which will eventually come to the board.
Okay.
So, okay. Anything else? Not, as of 10:13, we'll adjourn by unanimous consent. Thanks, everybody.